largest in the world and largest in sub-Saharan Africa. Upon completion, is expected to be producing 2.5 million bags of 50 kg rice annually, creating more than 250,000 jobs. The health sector is not left out. Through the Medical Project Implementation Unit, NPIU, Governor Sanwo-Olu kick-started a total upgrade of infrastructure in the state-owned primary, secondary, and tertiary healthcare facilities. The Sanwo-Olu administration has seen the completion and commissioning of roads across the state. The administration has also completed and commissioned numerous new road projects across the 3 senatorial districts, even completed the ones he inherited from the last administration, and still counting. This is the Greater Lagos Vision, and I'm your host once again, Lovikuku Oyedoku. Welcome. This episode features Lekki-Epe Expressway. We feel your pain. Lagos State government tells residents, appeals over ongoing reconstruction. Parking levy designed to eliminate indiscriminate levy collection, says Lagos State government. Transportation, Lagos government introduces cash reward to lag ferry users, says waterways now safe. These and many more when we return. Please stay with us. The Lagos State government says it feels the pains of residents of Lekki-Epe and has appealed to residents and road users over all inconveniences the reconstruction of the ongoing 18.7-kilometer Lekki-Epe Expressway may have caused. Engineer Aramide Adeoye, Special Advisor Works and Infrastructure to Governor Sanwo-Olu, stated this in a chat with newsmen. Engineer Adeoye noted that the Sanwo-Olu government is a responsive government that wants the best for the citizens.
The loss of man-hours is regrettable, and we're trying to minimize that. Even school children, because it doesn't make sense for them to go spend hours in traffic before they get to school. It makes them very, very unproductive. Even by the time they get to school, the learning capabilities will dwindle. So we recognize that. And so for this operation in the next phase 2, because it's strategic, you have a lot of schools around that area, the contractor will see the work methodology that we will put in place to ensure that the contractor can possibly work, possibly in the night, ensure that the diversions are done in a way and manner that can actually minimize the pain and hardship that they're going through. But it's regrettable, but as a government, it's not as if we don't feel the pain. And so we sincerely apologize and regret all of those pains that they're going through right now. But it's a thing that will soon fade away once we move in and the contractor stabilizes and people can ride on that stabilized surface.
She, however, attributed the cause of the gridlock now experienced in the area to a behavioral pattern of people who disobey traffic laws.
But in all of this, one major point of note is the fact that the way people behave, when people will not cease to, if they continue to face one way, because the officials of LASMA, everybody was there. Even LASMA, all of the things that LASMA needed to do to rejig, to ensure that they would double their personnel, their resources, work in triple shifts, everything they needed to do had been put in place, even for their men to be able to up their game. But that subsided for like a month, and you saw people go back to their old ways of facing one way. So it's about enforcement. When you are having construction work going on, government feels the pain. It doesn't make sense for people to go waste man-hours. We do, and that's why we're reconstructing the road. But there is no pain without gain. Road, it's a methodical job because we've done the phase 1. We've done 18 kilometers, and we succeeded at it. The next 16 kilometers should not be a problem. When people decide to be lane disciplined, stay in lane, obey diversion signs, and allow the contractor to work. So it's not as if government does not need to be stampeded to know what they ought to do. We have already taken proactive steps.
Traveling on Lagos Ferry will now attract cash rewards, so says the Lagos State government. This comes as the government announced that its waterways are now safe.
Lagos remains one of the busiest cities in Nigeria. It's home to over 500 active startups with a massive consumer market. Commuting within a state densely populated as Lagos has been Herculean in spite of alternative means such as water transportation. All that is about to change now with a reward system in place. Lag ferry users are now to receive cash rewards when they use the waterways.
My two, Ijegun Egba, Ebute Ojo, Badagry, Ekpe, Ibejuleki. Anywhere you are in Lagos, CMS, Ebute Road, Apapa, anywhere you are in Lagos and you're patronizing Lagos State Ferry Services, once you spend 5,000 naira worth of money, no matter the trips, if it's one way or two ways or three ways or whatever, your 5,000 naira qualifies you for a full token. And instantly, you will be entered into a draw that can make you win either 500,000, 1 million, 3 million, 50 million, 100 million. So every 5,000 naira spent qualifies you for this draw and for a good token.
The core values of the initiative is said to create responsive paths to meet the needs of Lagosians.
I'm sure you know what gaming and betting is all about. I'm sure you know. Because it's like every weekend, the draw is being done transparently everywhere. So if you win, you know you're qualified for what you have won. But you have to win. You know what I mean? So I wish you all the best. The more you buy, the more chances that you will win. So once again, I say buy in Lagos, win in Lagos. You must buy. You must buy before you can enter the draw. And like I said, it is just the right time that government seems to, want to lean, towards the buyers because they make things happen in Lagos. In Lagos, things happen. People come there. There is one Igbo man that said, if you come with, what do you call it? Is it Ghana must go or whatever? To Lagos, you go back with Jeep, isn't it? Because this is Lagos where everything happens. So, and if you've been doing business and you've been making it and you've been growing, we as government seems to be of the opinion that you need to say thank you back to people that are making it happen. And that's why this reward system is being encouraged. So, if you have the nalai, no they get anything, no. You have to be part of it before you know it's not true, not true. Echo talking is not true, not true. Thank you very much.
It is very clear. It has nothing to do with legal tender. What we're talking about here is that you spend for your satisfaction and getting value for money, and at the same time you are getting reward. We're not talking about using it as a means of payment. It's you spend and you get value for your money and reward as well. Also, you talked about trust. It should be seen here that because there's transparency, that is why the Lagos State Consumer Protection is invited here. So wherever you believe or you think that your consumer rights has been breached, definitely you can approach us. As a consumer, you use this token and you believe that you've used up to 5,000 naira on record, and you expect to qualify for the draws and the token. So definitely, if you think there's something wishy-washy, you can as well approach us. That is transparency.
In an effort to raise the standards for safety measures, the government is set to establish a command and control center to monitor activities on the waterways.
Since the introduction of lag ferry into the waterways, we've had significant development of our waterways because the main reason of bringing lag ferry in is to be able to set the standards for the kind of boats we want to see on our waterways. And in terms of the safety that was spoken about, there's been so many things done and which has helped improve safety on the waterways. The first thing the state government was able to do was employ more officers to be able to cover, all of the jetties and the terminals. So we increased the workforce of the safety officers, which helped us be able to monitor effectively on the waterways. Secondly, we're also able to increase our patrol of the waterways as well as upgrade our search and rescue units. Thirdly, we're able to also ensure now that, it's much easier to be able to access even petrol. Buying petrol on the water. As I speak to you, Falama was the first one. As of today, Ijego, Egba, and Ikorodu also have fuel dumps, which helps eradicate the use of just buying fuel, using kegs to buy fuel on our waterways. And we're not stopping there. The state government as well is about to commission the first of its kind in West Africa, a command and a control center. The whole idea of that command and control center is to be able to effectively monitor all of the activities going on the waterways in terms of safety, in terms of security, and of course gather data for the government to be able to make informed decisions. And this will also help us be able to respond to emergencies even much quicker. Yes, we know there were unfortunate incidents in the recent time, but prior to those two incidents, which were back-to-back, for 9 months, we didn't have any incidents on our water, which is the first of its kind. And also thanks to the fact that, look, we have Lag Ferry setting the standard, leading the role, but of course there's still other operators as well. And as regulators, we want to ensure that safety is very, very important. Like I said, safety would encourage more people to use the waterways.
All eyes, especially travelers on waters, are looking forward to the impact of the project.
The Lagos State Governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, has said that his administration will continue to prioritize the development of education sector in the state through increase in the education budget. The governor mentioned this at the opening day of our two-day 2022 Lagos State Education Summit.
These are stakeholders from the educational sector drawn from across all strata of the nation. They are here locking horns on how to evolve a fit-for-purpose education model for the state. Governor Sanwo-Olu, who joined via Zoom from Abuja but was represented physically by the Secretary to the state government, Folashade Jaji, said that improved education is one of the legacies he wishes to leave behind by the time he leaves office.
Education for us is a must for us. It's one of the major dividends of democracy. It's one of the cardinal objectives of any government that is worth its while. And so for us, we see education as one of the things, one of the tools that can end poverty in our system. We see education as one of the legacies that we can bequeath, to generations coming behind us. And so we're not paying lip service to education. We're taking it very, very, very seriously. And it's one of the major pillars that we believe that will be judged at the end of our time in government. There are lots of big initiatives and ideas that we've actually been propelling, that have been pushing our ideology in the last 3.5 years. Education happens to be, on year, one of the only few sectors that has continued to receive an increment in budgetary allocations, both at the capital expenditure and also with the recurrent expenditure.
On her part, the Commissioner for Education, Folashade Adefisayo, said Nigeria has a lot to do in improving the education sector and that the summit was organized to find solutions to the problems facing the sector in the country.
So this is about audacity. It's not another talk show. Nigeria has we have a lot of problems. Yes, Nigeria has the largest number of out-of-school children in the world, among other unfavorable key performance indicators of education. We have a lot of work to do. And therefore, the Lagos State Education Summit is important because some of the outcomes of this summit, we hope, will contribute to the process of framing the solutions to the well-known problems in the sector. Lagos State has the platform and the capacity to contribute to education in Nigeria. That is why we are here. This 30-year development plan will provide the bandwidth to drive the themes agenda of this administration, of which technology and education are recognized as part of the pillars. In the words of the governor again, at the official announcement of the plan, he said, "The dimensions to this plan are to keep a thriving economy that will make Lagos a robust, healthy, and growing economy with adequate jobs and strategic investments to sustain growth." The governor further said, "We are building a human-centric city in which every Lagosian will have access to affordable and world-class education, healthcare, and social services."
Stakeholders believe that creating a sustainable fit-for-purpose education model calls for a reworking of the current system being operated.
Your content must reflect your socioeconomic, affinity. The teachers must be able to be globally competitive in terms of, what is required of them, globally. These are some of the things fit-for-purpose education is designed to do.
We have to look at quality of our education. One key thing we need to solve is the quality of our teachers. We cannot improve education outcomes in Nigeria if we don't improve the quality of our teachers. And to do that, it goes beyond training 5,000 teachers, 10,000 teachers. We must come up with a model that can train millions of teachers on a yearly basis based on incentives. Those are the kind of things we need to rethink. Those are hard questions we need to ask ourselves.
The Vice Chancellor of Pan-Atlantic University, Nigeria, Professor Enase Okonedu, in her lecture, lamented the decay in the education sector, noting that the knowledge-based system that Nigeria now practices is no longer appropriate. Okonedu urged stakeholders to see education as an investment that can make the youth thrive in an ever-changing world.
The Lagos State government has refuted false alarms over parking levy by its agency, the Lagos State Parking Authority, LASPA, saying that the development was designed to eliminate indiscriminate levy collections. The Lagos State Commissioner for Transportation, Dr. Frederick Oladende, at a press briefing on the activities of the newly created agency, LASPA, said against the erroneous claims by certain individuals and groups, LASPA has the power by law to collect parking levies.
This press conference is to put the record straight on a purported viral post on social media by a business owner on demand notice by Lagos State Parking Authority, LASPA, charging him to pay the sum of 290,000 naira for parking in his compound. But the Lagos State government says it's all false. The Lagos State Parking Authority, LASPA, according to the Commissioner for Transportation, Frederick Oladende, says any setback not in the title of a property belongs to the government, except whoever is claiming ownership proves otherwise. He said the idea that informed the creation of LASPA was to put an end to impediments arising from indiscriminate parking and collection of levies.
For example, you build a supermarket. The supermarket would have the space that is allocated to it, and then the supermarket would have a fence around it. Now, the distance between the fence, because we believe that that fence is put, they put it at the limit, and the distance between that fence and the drainage, which we know is not allocated to anybody, is actually the setback. It's important that we understand the definition of a setback. That setback belongs to government. Now, if the supermarket actually wants additional parking space, it's welcome to, they're welcome to visit the agency and then pay for that parking space.
The State Commissioner for Information and Strategy, Benga Omotosho, said the claims were an attempt to malign the government by mischievous people.
I've read in newspapers and I've seen on television people who don't know anything about law at all, raising their hands and hitting the air in anger to say that what the Lagos State government has done is wrong. And they are basing this on false information, that if you park a car within your compound, you are supposed to pay. I think this is the fallacy of the year. It's not true, and it's an attempt to malign the government by mischievous people. But I know that members of the media, my colleagues, will not be surprised if you see such things because we are in the season of politics.
The General Manager, LASPA, Adebisi Adelabu, enjoins developers and builders to accommodate park provisions in their building plans before construction.
You cannot charge 2 million, 3 million, up to 4 million for a venue, and there's no parking. In Lagos today, there are some event centers that have 10 cars, 20 cars parking, and you have seated venues for 1,000 people, 500 people. We feel as a government that that's very unfair, because the day we have that event there, that whole area is on lockdown. People can't get in, can't get out, you have to project an hour or two to get around. These are some of the reasons why the government decided something needed to be done about that.
The Commissioner for Transportation, Frederick Oladende, enjoined Lagosians to cooperate with the agency and other similar stakeholders in carrying out its mandate. Oladende also employed interested and concerned members of the public to visit the agency's office for necessary information and assistance.
The Lagos State government, alongside the French government, has signed a Memorandum of Understanding, MOU, enabling professional esports players in Lagos to go on real-time online community and compete with players around the world in the 1 billion esports industry. The MOU was signed between Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu and the French ambassador to Nigeria, Mrs. Emmanuelle Blattman. In the agreement, the French partners would deliver high-grade online video gaming infrastructure that would afford players in Lagos to switch from being casual participants to competitive players in their game of choice across online leagues. According to Sanwo-Olu, the MOU would be unlocking opportunities for the youths.
So for us, it's really to ensure that we can create that ambience, that space where our youth, are very smart, intelligent, youth and smart kids in this place can take this opportunity of, deepening, the understanding of the games, and deepening their learning. The learning, that will be coming out of it. It's like STEM education in itself, technology, innovation, creativity, right, are the kind of things that we're going to be seeing, apart from the latter part of it, which is the entertainment part. But there's a deep-rooted learning skill.
Of our partnership will propel the engagements we are taking today to empower the Nigerian esports ecosystem and beyond the Nigerian youth. With world-renowned expertise, a turnover amounted to 50 million euros just in 2019, and with since then a 480% increase in investments and several major annual international meetings, the French market is ready for synergies to be built with its Nigerian counterpart.
That's all we have for you in this episode of the Greater Lagos Vision on Plus TV Africa. I'm Lovikuku Oyedoku. Bye-bye now.
Increase the reach of your events or business services. To advertise on Plus TV Africa, please call 0906 000 5719 or 0909 040 8408, or send an email to marketing@plusttvafrica.com. Plus TV Africa. Big stories live here.
Top-ranking Nigerians, wearing their finest robes, watched in dignified silence as the climax of Independence Day was reached. In handing over the documents to the Federal Prime Minister, Alhaji Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, Her Royal Highness handed over sovereignty to a new nation.
political environment in Nigeria has featured severe contestations among the country's diverse ethnic groups. The country's full set of political parties was formed in 1959, shortly before independence. In 2020, the nation's election umpire, INEC, succeeded in reducing the political parties from 92 to 18. Currently, there are two major political parties, the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, and its opposition, the People's Democratic Party, PDP. However, other parties like the Labour Party and others are beginning to make waves contending for recognition. Established parties have more seats in the National Assembly than smaller parties.
The ruling party and the main opposition party do not have much of a stronghold or influence on the minds of people as they used to. They are now alternative parties that people are considering voting for.
The political terrain today is said to be controlled by desperate politicians whose only goal is to prepare the ground for the nation's treasury and commonwealth. As the nation moves into another election year, there seems to be an awakening to change the tide in favor of the people through the ballot.
We're seeing the signs of dramatic shifts in orientation, in public consciousness, and in participation, particularly by groups that were previously inactive. So we have seen people channel and transform previous grievances into opportunities for political participation.
The major factor that I see, and which makes me conclude that 2023 elections will be radically different from the previous ones, is that there is an active participation of young Nigerians, okay? Not just in support of any candidate, but in the political discourse, in trying to set the agenda for the especially the presidential candidates.
Optimism on the part of citizens is attaining a dramatic increase as regards the forthcoming 2023 general elections.
The politician needs to let the followers to know that it should be a kind of issue-based campaign. That have they been able to better the life of people, the followers, have they been able to better the life of people?
The promises they made, they never fulfilled it. The one that said, okay, employment to the other regime, they said they will bring employment, that cost of living will be low, but then they are now there and then the cost of living has skyrocketed.
Any president that is coming should know what is at stake now, should understand, not like game blaming. Do you understand? They should know what is on ground. There is inflation in the land. Are they competent enough? Did he or she is able to, drive us, sail us to the island we are going?
The country has been irked by issues of insecurity to economic downturn, infrastructure deficit, dwindling healthcare, and education system, among others. However, as the race to the 2023 polls odds up, Nigerians believe once the political terrain is stable, good, and impactful, governance can begin. From the central government to the state and others, the choice of those to lead will depend on the electorate. Emmanuel Olububukun, PlusTV News.
Zamani ushanga ambayo tulikuwa tunashona, ushanga alikuwa nashona, ninashonea hii kidole, ninashonea masikio, ninashonea shingo. Hatuna biashara yoyote ya kuwa tunauza ushanga. Utauzia wapi? Sina juu pahali ambapo najua Hata tulikuwa hatujui kwanza ushanga unauzwa. Tuuzie nani?
Kina mama wa Kimasai alikuwa atoke afanye kazi kwengine, maana kuna majukumu ya nyumbani. Yeye ndio anatafuta kuni, yeye ndio anatafuta maji, yeye ndio anaenda sokoni kununua chakula ya watoto. Kazi ya mzee ni kung'ang'ana na mifugo. Najua mifugo iko mara ngapi? Mara 3. Kuna ng'ombe, kuna mbuzi, kuna ndama wale wadogo. Sasa kazi ya waume ni kazi ya mifugo peke yao. Kwa hiyo sio rahisi mama atoke aende afanye kazi kwingine, maana mzee akitoka kama anaenda kung'ang'ana na mifugo yake, anayobaki pale nyumbani ni mama. Kwa hiyo si rahisi apate nafasi ya kwenda kufanya kazi.
Mama tu ni kukaa tu kuangalia mali na kukamua na kupika basi. Mzee alikuwa anashughulika mambo zingine sote.
Sasa akishika ng'ombe mmoja ama 2 na ana mahali nzuri anafuga, kwa miaka 10 utakuja kuta hiyo ng'ombe 2 imefika ng'ombe 50. Maana ndio kazi yao. Lakini sasa kulingana na hali ya anga vile ilivyo, imekuwa ngumu pia wafuga hivyo.
There was a lot of slash and burn agriculture in this area. People could just cut down forests. We had natural water pans in the forests, but those water pans have already dried up. We had some rivers which were flowing down from the top of the hill, and that water could stay for a longer time. But these days, those rivers are no longer there. This is because of the change of weather patterns, and it's because people have destroyed the forest.
Sasa hivi huwezi kupata mzee ako na ng'ombe 100 hapa. Kwa mfano mimi ndio nawaongoza. Niko na bibi 2. Niko na wakasa wanangu, bibi za vijana wangu 4, kwa hiyo jamii yote kuna mama ni 6 na ng'ombe haifiki hata 20. Silikufa hata imebaki kama ng'ombe 15 hivi. Sasa unashida ukigawanya hizo ng'ombe 15 kwa hao kina mama kwa kila nyumba pale.
Anyasa na lenyoroi. Anyo na ribanga samu kutunyabu. Anyebo nwenga. Musa kwa juu kazi nyingine, kazi yake tu ni ya mfugo. Ikitaka chakula mpaka ause mfugo. Sasa hizo mfugo ndio hizo sasa hausiki. Sasa tutabaki tu kuangaliana na hao wa mabibi zetu. Ndio sasa naweza patia ruhusa, si ndio nimekuja sasa kupatia ruhusa sasa. Aenda afanye hizo mamradi, ndio sasa tuangalia kama atapata kitu kidogo ya kulete nyumbani. Halete chakula nyumbani. Ng'ombe zimeisha, nitawapa nini? Tunenda tukashonee wazungu hizi bangili. Gari za wazungu zinakuja kama hapa, maana ilikuwa gari za wazungu zinakuja. Unaweka pale. Unanunuliwa penginepo, maana penginepo una nyoo moja ni shilingi 500 wala shilingi 300. Unakimbia, unajua mtoto wako atakula nini? Atakula nini?
Mwanaume sasa Kimasai sasa akifika mahali yeye anachua watoto, aisee, hiyo ndio inakuwa ngumu. Lakini sasa mama sasa ndio akaona kazi, na asipoenda hatutapata kitu, tabidi tuvumilie. Na bado kuna shughuli za mifugo pia, wadogo hao hajatoka pia, unaangalia pia hapo. So tumekuta sasa sisi wanaume tumekuwa na kazi nyingi nyumbani kwa sababu mama kutoka kwenda kwa kazi yao ya kikundi.
Kitambo wasee ndio wanatafuta, wamama wakaa kwa nyumba, nakamua, naosha hiyo kibuyu yetu ya kukamua maziwa, alafu nafanya kazi yao kwa nyumba. Mzee naenda kutafuta jioni, nakuja kukula, nafanya kazi wa boma. Lakini siku hizi wamama ndio wanatafuta, wasee siku hizi hakuna kazi. Naangalia tu watoto, mbuzi, ile watoto ndogo ya ndama, alafu mimi naenda kutafuta na kuja kukula wote na yeye.
Wanataka mind zao zimepanuka sasa, wamekuwa na mindset tofauti. Wanataka amke, asimamie wengine, wanataka kwenda mbele, warejeste zile vikundi kama za walemavu kwao. Naona tu wamebadilika, hawako kama vile walikuwa
zamani. Ulikuwa unaambiwa kichwa ya nyumba ni nani? Kichwa ya boma, si ndio? Unaambiwa ni mwanaume. Sasa hivi mimi naona kichwa ya boma ni mwanamke. Kwa nini si kwambia hivyo mtoto wangu? Naona wajukuu wangu anatoka huko Wachija, anakimbia kuliko aende akamwambie babake nimepokuzwa skuli. Anakimbia hata kama ni kumsalamia, anamsalamia tu kwa kichwa, anakimbia. Kwa nini umekuja mama? Nimepokuzwa ni mwalimu. Nenda kwa mamako. Zamani ilikuwa kuna hiyo.
Sasa hii ukikaa mtoto anakuambia mama, siende kushona nipate chakula. Sasa utabidi utatoka. Anajua mama ametoka, akirudi anaka mfuko ya unga, hawezi kulala njaa.
Mimi kama mama ninafurahi, maana kama naenda nje kutafuta pesa yangu, nakuja kukula na familia yangu, nyumba nakuwa mzuri. Kama pesa ni nyingi, najenga nyumba yangu, najenga nyumba ya kupanga. Sasa hiyo kazi imekuwa mzuri sana. Naona kwa nyumba yangu iko sawa, hata kwa familia yangu. Maana kama naweza kupata pesa, hata mamangu naweza kupata kitu kidogo, ndugu zangu sina kula wote.
Maisha yangu sasa hii imebadilika sana, kwa sababu vile nimeona maisha imebadilika. Watoto wanaenda mbele, kwa sababu hii pesa ambayo napata naendeleza watoto wangu kwa masomo, na naendeleza kwa kila kitu, kwa sababu nguo ya shule mimi naendeleza. Sasa hii nimeona mbali sana, kwa sababu watoto wameenda shule kubwa sana, na kwa sababu ya hiyo miradi yangu.
Kule tumetoka tunataka tu hiyo nguo ambayo tumelikuwa tumelalia tuitupe. Tunataka nguo mpya. Tunataka mabadiliko. Ndio tunataka.
The Sahel extends almost 6,000 kilometers, 3,700 miles along the southern edge of the Sahara, from the Horn of Africa on the east to the western Atlantic coast. There's little rainfall in the Sahel, and farmers struggle to eke out a living in some of the harshest agricultural conditions on Earth. As climate change brings more intense droughts and degrades land in the Sahel, intercommunal violence over dwindling resources has increased. Much of the conflict is between herders and farmers who vie against each other to use the land for their own purposes. Some in the region have joined terrorist groups, militants linked to Islamic State and Al-Qaeda, who ride into villages on motorbikes and attack civilians indiscriminately. They wreak havoc and make parts of the region uninhabitable for civilians. While weak states and lack of development are big factors in the conflict, climate change is rarely discussed beyond the level of analysts and warnings from the UN. Unlike terrorists on motorbikes, climate change is a cause of the conflict people on the ground cannot see. But it is there. We travelled to Dori in northeastern Burkina Faso, where people are living on the front line of war and climate change. We wanted to find out how the invisible enemy of climate change is affecting people's lives and driving them from their homes. But first, we had to get there. Dori is the capital of Burkina Faso's war-torn Sahel province and home to thousands displaced by the conflict. The road from Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso's capital, to Dori is dangerous because of IEDs and pop-up terrorist checkpoints. Just 5 kilometers outside Dori, terrorists have attacked civilians and UN vehicles multiple times this year. Bagaye Lamizana grew up in Burkina Faso. Today she's based in Bonn, Germany, as project officer for the United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification.
Climate change is a kind of invisible enemy in the Sahel conflict. UK Ministry of Defense say that 60 million people will migrate from degraded land, part of Africa, if nothing is done. I think neighboring countries and Europe can see this migration affecting them.
Migration manifests itself in different ways in the Sahel. Some people, as farming becomes impossible, move to the cities in hope of finding work, but often they end up with low-paying jobs or living in poverty. Some of those migrants in turn begin to move further afield, often to Europe. They take trafficking routes through Niger, Algeria, Libya, and then take boats across the Mediterranean. The crisis in the Sahel has displaced nearly 3.5 million people, according to the UN. We met Zara Ureta, living in a host community on the edge of Dori. She's one of the 1.3 million internally displaced people in Burkina Faso. Zara came to Dori from Arbinda, a town about 60 kilometers away, where extremists regularly terrorized the communities, killing men, women and children. An attack on Arbinda in August left more than 80 people dead. She describes the raid that led her to flee Arbinda 2 years ago.
Il n'y a pas ce qu'on, puisqu'on pensait même qu'on ne va même pas sortir, puisqu'il y a deux fois, il y a des balles perdues là même, c'est pas facile quoi. Voilà. En tout cas, ce qu'on pensait là, on pensait que c'était bon, la fin du monde seulement, puisque les bruits de feu là, c'était trop. On a fui rentrer dedans, jusqu'à bon, les feux, bon, on n'entendait plus les coups de feu. Maintenant, on est sorti au dehors. Quand on est sorti au dehors, bon, on entendait des nouvelles qui n'est pas bon en tout cas. Ce qu'on a tué plus de... Ce jour-là, on a tué plus de 18 personnes. Mais tout ça s'était passé, c'est dans le marché, puisque c'était un jour de marché. Ils ont rentré la première fois. Puisque ça fait que moi-même, je ne me sens pas. J'ai des ulcères, ça fait même. Deux fois, même si j'entends cri ou bien quelque chose comme ça me rappelle de ce qui s'est passé à Arbinda. Je suis une femme mariée, j'ai 5 enfants. Bon, De fois aussi, en tout cas, c'est que je fais le commerce, je fais le levage aussi. Bon, je fais travaux de ménage, travail de ma famille. Je m'occupe de mon mari et de mes enfants aussi.
In the years before she fled Arbinda, she noticed the weather starting to change. It diminished usable land and forced the community to change too.
Avant, il pleuvait, mais aujourd'hui, en tout cas, il ne pleut pas. Les gens mangeaient en famille, quoi. Et puis surtout, les enfants respectaient les grands. Les grands aussi respectaient les enfants. Les gens venaient, ils soutenaient. Par exemple, les baptêmes comme ça, les gens venaient, ils soutenaient.
Zara says that tensions between herder and farmer communities have increased, shattering the unity that once existed. Salem is also a migrant who fled terrorism. Like thousands of others in Burkina Faso, he's joined a state-backed militia group known as the Volunteers for the Defence of the Homeland. They act as auxiliaries and local guides for the military, but they've also been accused of carrying out extrajudicial killings against civilians they believe are linked to terrorists.
Pagla kam koda me sakda gulo sakda wala kodo butoto sakda pihla la terroriste huwa wa baras kaletin ko jende gulo kaletin gole ko kaletin ko abkin ha ton pil sora kom la konyudu la nimbana e kaletin karmi lo tori kalebe terroriste namba hon ton nimbuide libra nimba ran tar ton pisla ton ko ta songre ton kami be pisi ton ay te yo rapport ton ka yo rapport ton ni ngonta yo rapport wakat le nem tin da bage yo wabi ko lore tiam ta mi ti ka wa ne be jin kan yi kan lore la be ab tiesa ye yam kami Kita pun waktu nazar, bukan nak mengerti apa yang tu nazar ni fo. Pisi model la katin bangi. Ab saya sak nak mengang waktu nak bangam tiap malam waktu. La problem apa pam ton sini sa. Ya lingri. Le problème de l'embuscade, l'embuscade, on solo rien, on va te convaincre. Là, il y a un moment. On t'a dit, pang la rodo, la terre, vous verrez rien. C'est ça, on a ça, on a pris fort. Par la tonne cahier, ton hand, c'est ton net, tiens, à nager, tiens.
Having lived in Burkina Faso for 2 years now, I've borne witness to some of the worst effects of climate change anywhere in the world. It's a big factor in this country's conflict. Step outside of Ouagadougou and into the countryside and you'll find vast numbers of internally displaced people living in extreme poverty. There are IEDs on the roadside, terrorists roam the countryside freely. The state is unable to provide security with an overstretched military and people are living in fear. It seems where people clamour for resources diminished by climate change, they go into fight or flight mode. For those who want to fight, it means joining terror groups. Those groups mostly do not have a religious ideology as their primary aim. Instead, they're financially motivated. They're looking for resources to survive, resources that are being diminished by climate change. For others, like Salem, the effect of climate change means joining a local self-defense militia to try and fight back against the militants. But even he had to leave his hometown, just like Zara or Etta. Resources are simply becoming too scarce, and it's too unsafe to stay. All of them are bound by the same thing, the enemy they cannot see, the man-made warming of the planet. Climate change contributes to conflict, and conflict leads to migration on an unprecedented scale in the Sahel. Analysts say the Sahel is a prototype for what will soon start happening in other parts of the globe as climate change continues and nothing is done. But aside from the devastation, people in the Sahel want to take back control of their futures.
What is the narrative of the Sahel which we could put out there? The Sahel is not only the land where it's a black doom and dying. It's a land of opportunities, having the two faces of the coin, not only the dark one, but also the lightened one. It's a region where you had the great kingdoms. It's a region where you have a vibrant youth. It's a region where you have a massive natural resources. Climate change is not just happening in the Sahel or in Africa. It's a global issue, and it's undermine health, it undermine agriculture, peace, security, in employment, and even economy. So by bringing together and intervening the political will with the action on the ground, we could really change a bit the narrative of the Sahel and give hope.
Ce que, en tout cas, moi, je pense.
To leber an dik ton naure. Bala tondo ya buri kyon ya buri kimbi. La patrie où la mort nous vient courant.
National security or national defense is the security and defense of a sovereign state, including its citizens' economy and institutions, which is regarded as a duty of government. Originally conceived as protection against insurgency, national security is widely understood to include security from terrorism, minimization of crime, economic security, energy security, environmental security, food security, and cybersecurity. Similarly, national security risks include, in addition to the actions of other nation-states, action by violent non-state actors, by narcotic cartels, and by multinational corporations, and also the effects of natural disasters. A nation should be provided the right ammunition and arms, and also provide fundings and infuse security experts to protect the lives and properties of its citizens, rather than putting the lives of helpless individuals at risk. The rate of insurgency increasing in most regions of Nigeria. With all these terrorist attacks in Nigeria and the Boko Haram insurgency in the northern parts of Nigeria, could we really say Nigeria is a secure country?